Hidden Object Guru here with some thoughts on Man of Medan, Supermassive's brand new interactive movie. Now, this is their follow-up to the trilogy of games around Until Dawn. That's Until Dawn, which is an interactive movie. Rush of Blood, which was a shooter that took place entirely within Josh's head. And then The Inpatient, which was a first-person horror adventure. Nice. That was a prequel to Until Dawn. They're all great games, nothing against them. But I will say, this thing right here, Man of Medan, is a complete evolution and upgrade to everything they were trying to do in those games. The story is much tighter, there are less plot holes, it's much better written. Paring the main cast down to 5 cast members from like 8. I'm thinking, who else can you play? I guess you play as one of the twins at the start, so that's a 9th, so yeah. Although, there's 2 guys at the beginning of this, so let's not count prologues. But 5 playable characters really allows them to focus their storytelling, and I think it's to the game's credit that they do it. Like, it makes them much, much better at telling a really propulsive story that hooks you in and keeps you going really just barreling fast all the way through. Partially because it's not in real time. Like, the game only takes 4 hours, but it's set over, well, not counting the prologue, obviously, it's set over about, so you start on one day, ends the next morning. So it's a 4-hour game that's set over a 24-hour period, which means that you're going to be jumping ahead a lot. You're never going to feel like they're just padding it out, wasting time. You're always jumping from important thing to important thing. Most of the game takes place aboard an abandoned ghost ship, this ship that we're on now. That's a tiny spoiler, but it was in the preview, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm not going to talk about how the characters get there. I'm not going to talk about what's going on the ghost ship. 0 spoilers, except for what you're seeing here in the game's prologue chapter. Most of the game is set on this ship. And so when you got 5 characters to jump between, sometimes they're paired up, sometimes they're separated. Basically, you're only moving from scene to scene in that. So the game is broken up basically half-hour prologue, an hour of getting to know everybody and having some minor stuff going on, and then 2.5 hours of just blaring, balls to the wall, non-stop horror for the rest of the game. And it's really good. Like, the QuickTime events, I know some people don't like them. I'm personally a fan of QuickTime events. The QuickTime events are fantastic. They're really well done. The acting is solid. There were a couple of problems with casting in Until Dawn, but everyone here is great. The story is really interesting once we get into it. Again, I got some plot holes, but I'm a jerk. I'm always going to find plot holes. What's really nice is that the characters are much more likable here than Until Dawn. Like, Until Dawn had, how shall I put this? Just real jerks throughout the story. Just jerks who are unbelievably unsympathetic. Jerks that you can't stand. That is not the case this time. This time you've got all sorts of people who you can relate to their problems. You understand where they're coming from. When they have interpersonal conflicts, it's all based on the decisions you make as an author of the game, by the choices you make in conversations and what you have people touch, find, pick up, confront people about. So instead of just having people who are naturally at odds with one another, constantly sniping, just dragging the whole experience down, this time it's 4 people who want to be on a vacation together and the boat captain they've hired to take them on a diving trip. Right? So everything beyond that, like, yeah, there's some nasty stuff here, there's some scary stuff there, but fundamentally these are all people who just want to get out of this situation alive together. There's no, like, secret betrayals and you murdered my family and blah, 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 blah. It's just good people having a scary adventure, and you get to control both parts of it. And that's what I'm going to get into now. The best feature about this game, and the way I'm going to recommend everybody play it. If you can, I know this is very expensive, I know this is a ridiculous thing to ask, but if you can, try to play this game in co-op. You will not regret it. all of the various levels have been timed out. So when characters are split off, there is like 10 minutes worth of content for character A and 10 minutes of content worth of character B. Sometimes, like in this sequence, the characters are just going to be walking around together. Uh-oh. They're both going to have to do QuickTime events like this. They are going to each be able to look around for evidence and talk about the evidence with each other. But a lot of the time, you're going to find yourself split off from the person you're playing co-op with, having a completely unrelated adventure. And sometimes you'll be brought back together, sometimes you'll be pulled apart during a sequence. It's all incredibly well handled, but I can't tell you what makes it very special because it would spoil stuff later in the game. But yeah, I played this thing in co-op, and it was one of the best interactive movie experiences I've ever had, because if you play it, and this is key, without talking to someone over the phone or Skype or Discord at the same time, if you just trust the person you're playing with and let them role play the character they're controlling, you're going to have an amazing experience. Then, once you've done the 4 hours, get on the phone with them, hop on Skype, and chat about the experience you just had. But it is vitally important to not, plan out what you want to do while you're doing it. Experience it for the first time, playing with somebody else, and the only way you can be in touch with them is the conversations your characters have in-game and the actions you take in-game. And the best part is, there's basically no way for the other person to grief you, for lack of a better term. I mean, yeah, they can purposefully screw up a bunch of QTs and die if they want to. Oh. Apparently I turned off the feature that lets you hold down buttons. But anyway, they could purposefully die and screw up the story, but, I don't know why anyone would. Ew. So much blood. But yes, there's no way for them to really screw you over, hold the game back. The one downside is, because the game is timed out perfectly, if one person pauses, both people have to unpause to keep playing the game. And so that's going to affect your ability to just zip through it, especially if you're not on the phone with somebody and they stop playing the game and will not tell you what happened. So yeah, you can kind of get trapped. But the game saw autosaves at the beginning of every chapter. You can pick it up whenever. But yeah, being able to do 2 players in the same story is... I've never encountered anything like it before. I'm surprised that the first time I'm encountering it, it works as well as it does. It is just... I'm not going to call it a perfect experience. Like all games, there's some upsides and some downsides to it, but fundamentally, this thing is just amazing. It is the best thing Supermassive has done yet. I have high hopes for whatever they do next. It is an absolute must-play for people who like horror games or interactive movies. And I know asking you to spend $30 on a game twice is kind of excessive, but the co-op, if you got a friend who likes this kind of thing at all, it's worth trying to talk them into getting a second copy, just so you can both have this experience. Or, I hate to tell you to wait for a sale, because I want everyone to get this right away so they don't have spoilers. But, it's honestly worth it if by Christmas they do a half-off sale. Just buy 2 copies. Just buy 2 copies, give one to your friend, and play it together. It's the same if you just bought it for yourself, and you'll have a great time. But yeah, like all interactive movies, though, there are diminishing returns after the first time you play it. Once you know all of the game's secrets, once you know the game's story, it's not as much fun the second time. How could it be? But by putting in this co-op function and splitting the story into 2 different halves, so different characters are being controlled at different times, the upside is there is actually a good amount of content to be found if you want to replay the game. So I started this in the Curator's Cut. That is something you get if you pre-order, which, I think it's worth doing if you're not going to play it co-op. Everyone gets to do this, I think, starting in October and November, but... uh-oh. You start the game if you're playing single player as Joe, and then you play characters A all the way through the rest of the game. But if you play the Curator's Cut, or the second player in co-op, you play as Charlie in the first section, and then you play characters B in all of the different segments for the rest of the game. Obviously, the best way to do it is in co-op, playing first as one and then as the other to get a full experience of the story. But if you're not going to play... Quick! Let's hide! But if you're not going to play it in co-op, then the Curator's Cut is going to get you all of the content in the game. And it's honestly kind of sucks that it's only there for people who pre-order it. What the huh? That's right, Chinese demon. Chinese demon came to get me. So yeah, absolutely pick up this game. I can't show you any more of it because it doesn't come out till tomorrow, and even though the embargo's over, I don't think I want to show any more of it because it really is that good and you owe it to yourself to be able to check it out pretty clean as possible the first time. I think you're going to have a great time. Anyway, I've been the Hidden Object Guru. I love interactive movies, I love horror games, and this is honestly the best one I've ever seen. I can't stress enough, you need this game. So, I will see you back here for more. There's going to be a playlist on my channel, like half a dozen videos, all the endings, a guide to explaining the whole story if anything was unclear, you don't find all the secrets. Really, full team coverage of this game here on the Hidden Object Guru channel. So click on the button if you want that. I'll see you back here for more, but until then, au revoir.